I pack it into the size of a peanut, which would be, black hole would be like, I forget how big for the sun, like 30 feet maybe. If I pack it tightly, then it's going to deform space-time in that spot very significantly. So when you shoot light through that deformed space-time, so to speak, then you're going to see lensing. You're going to see it bend. But if you shoot it through a wide empty space where you spread around the photons of the same mass, you're not going to see that.
Yeah, so your analogy is slightly off though. So the way that you would be, the way that you kind of describe it would be, um, you have the sun as individual particles, right, separated over a wide area. Then there's nothing in between those particles, right? That's not the case here. So in between the space for each particle, there would be the relevant stars of the galaxy, right? So it would overall facilitate, the missing gravitational force in the way that would change the spectrum of light to correspond with that amount of density in the system, right? So like it's not there.
Well, you wouldn't, because it's roughly uniform there. So when the light travels, us humans wouldn't be able to tell if it's affected or not, because there is no visible dent in time. If you imagine time space being kind of compressed, or the dent in it caused by concentrated mass, then we see it only when the light traverses that spot. It kind of bends over it. When this mass is spread over, we don't have like a reference, because it's all smooth. It smooths out, we would say, mathematically.
So based on the luminosity of the uh, galaxy, right? They get their mass of it, right? And they can take spectral readings from that, and
That's right. Yeah,
they can deduce how the light is interacting with the gravitational field as it's escaping the system. And if there were a
that's
dark
correct.
matter, and if there were a dark matter interacting with a gravitational field such that it is causing the acceleration and deceleration, it would affect the spectral readings, and it does not, sir. Therefore, there is nothing that is facilitating this extra acceleration and deceleration required to replace uh, the gravitational density that would be required to hold the system together. It's a very
Well,
simple. Yeah, that's what I'm going with now. It's a very simple, logical, deduction. It's nothing too crazy, right? Like the spectral readings reveal it all. Otherwise, you would have to argue that the gravitational field doesn't interact with light in the way that we think it is, and then in which case we'd have to rethink all the so-called proofs of relativity.
but
So,
it's
like it,
two different statements to say
uh,
that mass interacts with space-time, which it does, and
negative,
another
the
thing to say,
gravitational field.
well, okay,
It's Peter,
that's
Peter,
what's.
Peter, this is a perfect example of what you did last Sunday when I presented standard form. When you now know,
Mhm.
Alan, you did such a good job presenting that quick standard form argument. Boom, boom,
But
boom. Therefore,
but I'm debating his argument. So if you
and
would let
but you're
us,
not
then
though. You're just speaking past him. Why don't you
okay,
present why
okay.
one of his premises is wrong
Thank
or
you,
why it doesn't
thank you,
entail?
thank you. So I will present my own standard argument. Okay, is that fair?
Absolutely.
Why don't you try to refute one of his
Because I
premises?
think he's wrong, so I won't
So which
pick
one of his
holes in it.
premises is wrong? Which one of his premises
The
is wrong?
Here we
And
go.
the
refute it that
fact.
way.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Here is what is wrong. He correctly states that mass.
What you think is wrong.
Yes, what I think is wrong. Thank you very much. Mass. He correctly states that mass affects time-space. Yes, and then he assumes incorrectly that that means that no matter how the mass is distributed, there is an observable, for us humans, gravitational lensing caused by that deformation. And I propose, Xavier, that those effects are observable to us when mass is concentrated enough in a particular spot. And then when we observe light traversing that spot, we can see the lensing effect. And for reference, I will tell you that we can see lensing caused by the sun, but I think we can we can see it caused by the moon. I may be wrong here, or smaller objects in the solar system, even though we see them and they're close, but they're just not massive enough. Does that make sense?
Okay, so
But you did not
first,
listen to him. You
Well-
say, okay, so take a boulder and then smash it into little rocks for an analogy. Your analogy is that rocks spread all over the place is going to take up less density than that giant boulder. But what he said is that space between those rocks is the stars and everything else that he mentioned to fill it up. So it would be that boulder that would take up the density. I'm paraphrasing, I'm oversimplifying it, but more or less, it's what
That's
he
a good
said.
one. Yeah, it
So
is
you
correct.
ignore him.
I
You
like
ignore
what you
his
said.
premises.
No,
So
no,
why don't
I
you address
didn't.
what he actually said and your
I
false
will.
interpretations?
I'll actually address what you just said, which I think was a very good illustration of that of claim.
Well, why don't
Which
you
is that
ask
when
Alan
you-
if that's a good representation or a good?
Oh,
not,
was
not
that a
only
good
not
representation?
only is it a great representation, it's verbatim what I said. Anyway, continue.
Thank you. Thank you. We can agree on something now. So when we observe light traveling from somewhere in the universe through that space where these little pebbles are spread roughly evenly and smoothly, we don't see it bending because it's the individual dents that they make are so tiny.
Sorry to cut you off. Forget the bending. Just analyze the spectral shift argument. Forget the bending. Forget the bending. Just focus on the spectral reading.
Like the shift in wavelength?
Yes, facilitated by the gravitational wave change.
Well, we don't see the part of it caused by that because a much bigger part of the shift is caused by the movement in the universe itself, such as expansion. Everything's moving in relation to us, so absolutely everything is shifting. And the factor that such tiny pebbles evenly spread around would introduce would be insanely small. Like, how would we know what is from what? We're already estimating crudely what the shift is from the speed of the expansion, which is also estimated. So how would you account for like such tiny differences caused by individual tiny, let's say, particles, whatever they are?
Well, first of all, the entire mass entire mass was added to a galaxy to facilitate it not ripping itself apart. So like I wouldn't do anything to do that, right? So when they take their readings, they can analyze how much spectral shift should be there based on the what's it called, the luminosity of the system, right? So based on all their assumptions, the luminosity doesn't reflect a system that has a greater gravitational density due to dark matter influencing it. Now, I don't know if you're like intentionally not getting it or what, but at this point, it's kind of getting
I'm trying to.
It's kind of getting annoying. So, as dude said,
well, welcome to my world.
The space in between the rocks is also filled. So the way that you're describing that side of the argument isn't. It's not. Sorry, that's not.
Fair enough.
It's not
so
helping
let's.
you.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So let's maybe move to another topic. And one day, I estimate 20 years from now, when we have a solid theory for what dark matter is, then we will revisit.
Cool.
20 years?
Sounds good.
Why
don't we make it 150? Why don't we make it 150 years?
It could as well be.
Yeah.
It could as well be. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
Cool. Geocentrism doesn't need dark energy and dark
matter. Was there another question from another member of the panel here?
We actually do got two other globe earthers with their hands up.
Oh yeah.
Did we hear from who's next, Jonathan or Bradley? Oh, bro, I was tweeting. Trying to get the toxic ones in here.
Bradley.
Go ahead, Bradley. What's up, bro?
Oh, Jonathan can go because I'm
still researching.
I've got questions for Alan, but I'm not sure if you want to take the conversation in the direction.
I mean, you have the floor right now, man. If you want to do your thing.
Okay, so Alan, these screenshots that you sent me and you put up in the nest are kind of interesting because they talk about all the ways that you have to kind of the process that you have to go through transforming things from the different coordinate systems so that you can, eventually come up with a path, that you can plot on a map. And the first thing that I would note is that as I look at it here, all of these formulas use a fair amount of trigonometry. Is that true?
I would assume so. That's what the supplemental or ephemeris is based off of, essentially. It's all just planar trigonometry. Oh,
You have to be more specific, Bradley.
so, sorry, I had my mic muted. Yeah, I would assume so. I would assume
Yeah.
a lot of it is, because that's basically what the supplementary ephemeris is, or whatever. It's all planar
Right.
correction angles.
Okay. So in order to come up with these plots on a map, NASA uses trigonometry, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
Well, Fred Aspernak does.
Right. And did the Babylonians and did the Mayans have trigonometry?
Don't think so. I'm guessing by the tone of your question, they didn't.
Yeah. So that's the basis for my statement that the Babylonians could not possibly have produced the kind of results that NASA produces today.
So did they have geometry in the Babylonian era? Were they able to make squares and triangles and circles and such, as the
Yes,
Greeks did? Well, that's
yeah.
exactly how the Greeks did the same situation.
The
So
formulas that you gave me,
Mhm.
formulas that you gave me, and everything that you admitted up until you realized where this was heading says that NASA uses trigonometry. You admitted that. Okay. The Babylonians didn't have trigonometry, so the Babylonians could not have done what NASA did.
do you
Okay, this
think
is
drawing
just,
a tangent for
They did utilize-
trigonometry proves a globe or a
No.
plane either way?
I mean, you can try and weasel your way out of this, but
It's not a weasel.
I think I'm done.
Actually, Bradley, you're being a bit fallacious because no one said that they did exactly what NASA did. I don't think that anybody said that the ancients did exactly what NASA did. You're creating a straw man argument. What we said was that they derived what they know now from them, and they were flat earthers. That's
Prove
what
it.
we said.
Prove that they
What you
derived.
mean? This,
that
huh?
we derived. Okay, you just made a statement. Okay,
bro, this is the globe earthers are saying that they use a serocycle. This ain't flat earthers that's saying that they're using a serocycle.
no.
These
You
are
said-
globe earthers that we getting this from. I tweeted it out. We gave you the information. We already went over this. This isn't flat earth information. I mean, it is technically, it's derived from it. But these
You
are
made-
globe earthers on national TV saying, hey, this is how we do this. We get it from those guys over there.
That's not what Alan gave me. Alan gave me the formulas. Okay, those formulas are not the serocycle. Okay, he's the one who posted them. So if you think that NASA uses a serocycle, you have an argument with Alan, and I'll let you two hash
Where
it
they're
out.
all derivations.
I'll let
That's the
you.
point.
They don't. What do you mean derivations? What do you mean by derivations?
The Babylonians' observations were mathematical and arithmetic based.
Yeah. What's your point?
You saying that you
That was the whole argument, Bradley.
Let me walk through it slowly. Okay. Today, NASA is able to produce very specific, detailed location information and time information about where the path of the eclipse will go. I asserted that the Babylonians and the ancients never had that ability, and you guys disputed that. And Alan provided proof saying, look, this is what NASA is doing. And I pointed out that the formulas that he gave used trigonometry, which the Babylonians didn't have. So you are wrong. Okay, now this is not a question of whether or not the Earth is flat or spherical. This is a very tiny part of the discussion. And this is an interesting moment for you guys because it's very clear that you were wrong. You made an assertion that the ancients were able to do what NASA does today, and that assertion was wrong. And the question now is, are you going to admit it?
Where did NASA get their information from based on whose data that was collected over the years in the past? NASA didn't formulate all this. They got these predictions that they say they predict from a previous civilization.
Also, can I read this out in Science Direct?
Babylonians discovered exact sexagesimal trigonometry.
So at least 15,000 years before the ancient Greeks discovered trigonometry. So your affirmative claim that they did not seems to contradict this source I have right here. And I'll be able to post that in the nest soon. But see, this is what I'm talking about. If somebody says an ancient civilization can predict, and you're saying a newer civilization can predict to the nanoseconds, nobody's negating that prediction is available. You're just complaining that it's not to the nanosecond. Who gives a fuck? The Babylonians discovered sexagesimal trigonometry. You are wrong, sir. 15,000 years before the ancient Greeks did. I have a source here. So you're just asserting things without any source. You're asserting another negative claim for somebody to bring a positive one. So I'm going to post that to your DM. And once you're wrong again, I'd like you to apologize to the panel.
And for a cherry on top,
Okay.
before the Babylonians, it was the Mesopotamians that were also flat earthers.
You misrepresented what I claimed.
Yo, hold on a second.
What I
Bradley, 'cause
claimed
I just wanted
was,
to
had
say one
nothing to
thing.
do with
Yo,
a
Bradley.
more precise timing. What I said, and I'll say it again just so you understand what I'm saying, is that the Babylonians and the Mayans and so forth, they could predict the time of an eclipse.
Yeah, but
They
you're wrong,
could
Bradley.
They also had
Bradley,
trigonometry. They also had
You're wrong.
trigonometry.
They
They
could
also had
not predict
trigonometry.
the location.
From
Okay.
ScienceDirect.com.
Okay,
it's
you're
location.
changing your
Yo,
argument
excuse me.
now. You're saying
No,
that
I
they
am
did
not.
not.
This is
Yo.
what I
Yes, you are,
said.
Bradley. Don't raise your
Space
voice at me,
recorded?
boy. I'll put you in the corner. I'll make you
Is
kneel,
this
boy.
space recorded?
Don't you raise your voice at me, boy.
I'm not.
So sit your ass down,
I'm
boy.
not raising my
You gonna
voice.
sit his ass in the corner,
Someone
boy?
sounds kind of heated.
Yo,
Nah, I'm
Bradley.
laughing at you,
Kinda
boy,
heated.
because you said
You
you
need to
don't have
calm down.
trigonometry back then, and you got
need to
proven
calm
wrong
down.
twice, boy.
Yeah.
I thought you said they didn't
Yo,
have
Bradley, it
trigonometry.
says right here.
And people just say, hey, by
It
the
says
sound
right
of your
here.
voice, that you're probably right. But nobody said that they conceded. And you're wrong. I just took a quick Google search, and Babylonians did have trigonometry. So you're just lied, or you're wrong.
Hey,
That's what I
peace
was
among
about
the
to say.
I'll take a look
Christians,
at it.
okay?
That's what I was
Peace,
about to
peace,
say.
peace. I have a clarifying question, Xavier, because I want to do my own research here to
Yo, just
resolve this.
chill. Let Bradley finish,
I have
bro.
a question, but it's
Let
Bradley
Bradley.
will find it useful. You said that we have records of 15,000 years ago.
Excuse me?
Did you say, did I hear you correctly? You said we had records of the ancients from 15,000 years ago?
I have a source that says it's been, they have trigonometry at least 15,000 years before the ancient Greeks, according to anthropologists. Do you want that
Okay.
source, too?
No, I would love that. Yeah, because
Yeah, dude, I just looked at the website here. So when you click on the cycles or whatever, it's literally all serocycles, eclipses over the dude. This is nuts. What the heck did this guy even read?
Can
Okay.
you post it in the Jumbotron?
Old Babylonians used trigonometry in the 16th century. BCE.
16th century?
Yeah, BCE.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
sorry.
okay. No, that.
I'm sorry.
That's directed to
1500.
Bradley. That
And
was
that's
given false
and
info.
actually saying that they traced the origins of trigonometry to the old Babylonian era. So I don't know what the fuck Bradley's talking about.
Right. He's all
Yeah, I
over the
want to
place.
look into
He's
it.
just making shit up. And also, Peter, just quick correction. I read one extra zero. It's 1500 years.
Got it. Thank you.
So Bradley's just making shit up as usual. But anyway, Alan, I have a quick question. So, you having fun, bro? It gets kind of crazy sometimes. But
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And real quick before we proceed on, so I don't know what you were looking at for the calculations from Fred or whatever, but on the NASA website, if you open up the data tables or whatever and just Control F Saro cycle, or Saro, you'll see like it's all of them have it, or a lot anyway, or the ones I checked 3 randomly. So like
yeah, Alan,
it's
they're
definitely
hoping
in
that
there.
we don't. They're
Yeah.
hoping we don't Google when they say shit. They hope we say shit and hope we don't Google. So as you see, as I did and you did, we just both just dunked on them real quick. So it happens when it comes around. But yeah,
That quick mop up, dude. You know what I'm saying?
Man, the receipts is up top.
But it's all good.
Just in case you think that we capping. So how do we look at the same thing and then Bradley be completely wrong?
Because
I
he's
don't
be
know.
capping, like you said, he just be talking out of his ass. He wants the shit to be round so bad he's willing to lie.
He might have looked at like the final summation of what Fred is trying to say he does with his algorithm or something, and was like referencing that and not the source of all the summation of where the data came from. Because if you do that, like you'll see, it's pretty evident that they had all this stuff cycled and predicted out and mapped out and stuff. But anyway.
So maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle in this case. I had a quick look.
No, he's just wrong. I had a question first, Matt, please. So earlier,
you're welcome,
gentlemen. Talked about how some of the things that he saw with the stars kind of made him convinced about the shape of the Earth, where you pointed out that this can work on a separate model, that it's not mutually exclusive to one. But one thing that is mutually exclusive to the standard model or something alternative, possibly like an ether, is the Einstein's posit with the constant of light being a problem. You talked about what the hell is that instrument? Damn it! What is that instrument that you could see it going in one angle? Photographic plate, high altitudes, one way it goes. Light goes one way faster than the other. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I don't know the name of that instrument, but if you could explain to the newbie who asked, I forget who it was, of how that's a problem and how that can be mutually exclusive for their model being incorrect.
Okay, yeah, absolutely, bro. So in the case of interferometry, what they have or what they say is that the speed of light is the constant and it doesn't change, right? So when they do an interferometer, or what they did an interferometry experiment in 1887, what they do is they split a beam of light. It hits two mirrors, reflects back, recombines, and then it hits a photographic plate or in the Michelson-Morley apparatus, they didn't have a photographic plate. They were kind of like projecting it onto a screen and then marking the distance between the fringes and then measuring it out. But for modern interferometry, it'll be projected onto a screen as well. But there's different ways you can do it. But anyway, what they found was that the speed of light varies. There's a variance to it, and it should have corresponded to Earth's motion, right? So if the Earth is, if the heliocentric model is true, and then the Earth's position in the cosmos is that it's chasing the sun, right? So they would have had they had a predicted amount of fringe that was going to be proportional to how fast they were going, and they didn't get that prediction. So a way to interpret that in the speed. So in terms of the direction, before I get into that, we'll get into the direction of the alignment. So they had one of the beams of light in the interferometer was facing towards the north, right? And this would have been towards the direction of motion in their model, right? As the Earth is chasing the sun. And then they had an arm perpendicular to that, going out into space or whatever, right? And the idea was that this arm would drag against the ether, and there would be a variance in the speed of light, and they would measure Earth's orbital velocity through that, right? So they got a very slight fringe, not outside of their outside of their margin of error, but way outside of their heliocentric prediction. So they were like, "Oh shit, what do we do, boys?" And that's where the variance came from. So if you think about on a globe or on a plane, a disc, right? There's, you're gonna be, to circumnavigate, you're gonna be going in a circle, right? So that circle, east to west, electromagnetic propagation picks up a speed. It goes a little faster. It's like it's picking up a tailwind, right? So it's going a little faster. And then when it's going west to east, it's as if it's catching a headwind, and it goes a little slower. And the variance in that speed corresponds to the movement of the sun to the day on the equinoxes, where the fringe readings, right, reach their minimum and maximum dimensions on the day of the equinoxes, meaning that the speed of light is the fastest and the slowest on those days when when it is traveling in the north and in the south.
Can I chime in real quick?
For the love of God, please do, man.
Thank you. Not to make an argument, but I did some quick research regarding the history of trigonometry. So it is true, per Xavier, that Sumerians and ancient Sumerians and Babylonians studied some properties of triangles. They have not developed a system for measuring the lengths of a triangle or its angles. So I'm not sure how relevant that is, but I would guess it is relevant. And only Greeks around 300 BC started developing deeper understanding of trigonometry. What is interesting, though, is that no other civilization, not the Indians, not the Chinese, ever developed anything related to trigonometry. So that's just an interesting fact. Now,
That
Sacred,
is wrong. That
all right,
is
thank you.
wrong, Peter.
Okay, one last thing, Sacred, permission to make a light-hearted joke.
Go ahead, man. Fire off.
Thank you.
Ego.
Thank you. It is a light-hearted joke. I am really happy that the major problem with the mainstream cosmology is the nature of dark matter, which is a big gap, big problem with it. While the problem with the flat Earth model is our uncertainty regarding the radius of the Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. That makes me feel like I'm standing on solid ground as a glober. Thank you.
Nice.
Don't slip along that curve. And we didn't say that's the only problem of the
Sacred, and may I, my brother, may I?
Yeah, go ahead, 40. Jump in real quick.
I have to. I've been in and out listening, and I have to speak. And I apologize to anyone, and it's fucking sad that I still have to apologize in 2023. I hear a lot of Sacred, I love you, my brother. Proud, keep being you, sis. Alan, good to have you aboard. As a Mi'kmaq First Nations Indian, my ancestral's been on this fucking land since time immemorial. I can speak of ancestral knowledge of over 100,000 years on what you call America and Canada. So before anybody wants to speak about the civilization or what the science that you speak of what is written or by man, please understand and do not take this the wrong fucking way, because I'm getting fed up with most of society. I see a lot of very scientific people. I hear a lot of educated people. I hear a lot of very, very knowledgeable people. But I continuously hear a lot of Western colonial mindset, of an indoctrination, of brainwashing, since most of society has been children, all written by man. The science that people are arguing about is written by man. That is not from this land we stand on. Please understand this. I'm not coming at any one of you. I love all colors and creed. There's no hate in me. But please understand that even Sacred, even Proud, even Alan, even Phantom, I don't want to call everybody else. There's even people in listeners, even Rough. They're all speaking from an indoctrination that is not from this land. They're all speaking of history books and written books, scientific books written by man. Please understand, and I'll say this before we go to the next speaker, as a Mi'kmaq First Nations Indian from what you call Mi'kma'ki, which is Canada. Our people, long before any Western civilization came to this land of Turtle Island, which belongs to 3 continents and is First Nations land, whether anybody wants to believe it or not, my people, and I still do it to this day with my fucking hands, we built arrowheads in rectangle positions. Our teepees are a triangle pattern. Our wigwams are somewhat of a half sphere. We hand carved what you call beads today that you buy in your stores. We hand carved with our hands beads to make our wampum belt that are oval in spirit, and they have a hole in the center. Before your written works and what you believe in is only 5,000 to 7,000 years old. I sit down to this day with another First Nations brother of mine from Australia, and my elders are 120 to 125 years old, still living the way of my people, outside of society, healthier than an ox. So before you want to speak about man-made written science, man-made written fucking rules and beliefs, and don't ever think that there's nobody in Twitter Spaces that understands what walked on this land long before any of your ancestors. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but we have to understand, no matter what color, no matter what creed, we're all equal and we're all one. But in the last 3 years, my brothers and sisters from all walks of life, I don't care what you believe or whatever you think is right or wrong. Just open your eyes, step out of the fucking sandbox, and in the last 3 years alone, just imagine what they lied to us about. So imagine what they lied to our mom and dads about. Imagine what they lied to our grandmothers and grandfathers and greats and greats and greats. So I apologize for interrupting the last speaker, but I'm getting very fed up with a Western colonial mindset of Stockholm syndrome that's running fucking rampant in 2023. Wake the fuck up and pitter patter, my brothers and sisters. Let's get at her. But please understand, there's people in this space that know about knowledge that most of society has no comprehension of. Thank you, Sacred, Proud, and Alan.
Permission to